Europe has built many wooden towers, over 20 stories tall. America has built exactly one. And it's not because they don't have the technology. It's because of building codes written after a fire in 1871. First, let's look at what America is actually restricting. The International Building Code limited mass timber construction to just 85 feet until 2021. That's barely 8 stories. The 2021 update finally allowed buildings up to 18 stories, but it came with so many restrictions and requirements that most developers still won't touch it. And here's what's crazy, most US cities haven't even adopted the 2021 code yet. They're still using the old limits. Now, technically mass timber isn't completely banned. But when the restrictions are so severe that America has built just one mass timber tower while Europe has built dozens, the practical effect is a ban. Before we go any further, let me show you exactly why these restrictions are so punishing. The International Building Codes 2021 created something called a Type 4A construction for mass timber. And buried in that code are requirements that make mass timber projects significantly more expensive than concrete or steel, even though the raw material costs less. Firstly, there's the encapsulation requirement. All exposed mass timber must be covered in non-combustible materials like gypsum drywall. Think about that for a second. The entire aesthetic appeal of mass timber is the beautiful exposed wood grain. That's exactly what makes buildings like Norway's Mjolnir so stunning inside and outside. But the American code forces you to cover it all up. You're paying premium prices for engineered timber that nobody will ever even see. And this isn't just about aesthetics. Installing fire protection on structural elements several floors below before you can build higher slows down construction dramatically. Time is money in construction. Secondly, and this is probably the most stupid reason, the mass timber buildings need redundant fire pump systems at just 120 feet. Concrete and steel buildings require it at 420 feet. That's a 360-foot penalty just for using timber. That's tens of thousands of dollars in extra mechanical equipment, plus ongoing maintenance costs that concrete buildings just don't have. Third, you need special inspections during construction, and then annual inspections and maintenance of fire-rated elements after the building is completed. More inspectors means more delays, more paperwork, more money. Concrete buildings just don't deal with this bureaucracy. So even though the cost of mass timber itself can be competitive with or even cheaper than concrete and steel, by the time the developer adds the encapsulation, the redundant fire pumps at 120 foot instead of 420, the special inspections and the fire-resistant rated assemblies, you've eliminated the cost savings and made the project more expensive than traditional construction. That's why developers look at these projects and walk away. Europe does things very differently. Norway's Mjolnir Tower stands at 280 foot tall with 18 stories. It's been standing since 2019. Austria's Ho Vienna reaches 276 feet with 24 stories. Norway's Treat building is 160 foot. And there are plenty more across Scandinavia, Austria, Germany, the UK. These aren't experimental buildings. They're functioning apartment complexes, office buildings, mixed-use developments that people live and work in every single day. And then you look at America. Milwaukee's Ascent Tower opened in 2022 at 284 feet. And that's it. One building, that's the entire list. One building in all of the United States. A country with thousands of cities and towns and millions of construction projects happening every year. One. And here's the weird part. The reason that America restricts wooden buildings is based on a myth that's been disproven for decades. Because when you actually test mass timber against fire, something surprising happens. Americans often seem to think that wood equals flammable. And for regular wood construction, that's absolutely true. A wood frame house can go up in flames in minutes, but mass timber is not regular wood. It's engineered cross-laminated timber made of multiple layers of wood pressed and glued together under extreme pressure. It's a completely different material with completely different properties. When you expose it to fire, it behaves in a way that seems to shock most people. Steel beams, which are used in every skyscraper in America, for instance, start to weaken at around 1000 degrees Fahrenheit. At 1500 degrees, they warp and collapse. We've all seen footage from this happening. It's obviously one of the biggest concerns in high-rise construction. Mass timber does something very different. When exposed to flames, the outer layer chars and forms a protective barrier. This char layer insulates the inner wood and slows down the burning process dramatically. The structural integrity remains intact far longer than most people realise. European fire tests have shown that mass timber structures can maintain their load-bearing capacity for over 90 minutes in a full-scale fire. 90 minutes is often longer than the fire resistances of many steel structures. So let me just say that again to clarify. Mass timber is more fire resistant than steel in many scenarios. The material we often think of as dangerous is actually safer than the material that's used in almost every tall building in America. And what's even crazier is that Europe didn't just figure this out yesterday. It's been known for decades. Norwegian and Austrian engineers have conducted extensive fire testing since the early 2000s, and the data is public. The results are available. European insurance companies have accepted the risk, and yet American insurance companies still charge premium rates for mass timber projects, and American code writers still treat it like it's a wood-framed house. But it's not. So if the fire safety concerns are myths, and the technology clearly works in Europe, why is America still blocking it? Well, like any questions, to find an answer, you need to follow the money. There's an entire industry that doesn't want mass timber to succeed. The concrete and steel industries in America are massive. We're talking billions of dollars in annual revenue. And when the 2021 International Building Codes updates were being debated, these industries lobbied hard against allowing mass timber buildings. The American Wood Council had to fight for years just to get the 18-story limit approved. And even then, the restrictions that actually made it into the code are so complex and expensive that they effectively just discourage most developers from even trying. Insurance companies are part of the problem too. Despite decades of European fire test data showing that mass timber does perform well, American insurers still treat it as high risk. They charge premium rates that make these projects financially unviable. It's not actually based on a risk assessment either. It's based on perception and the path of least resistance. Why would an insurance company stake their reputation on approving something new when they can just keep on insuring concrete and steel like they always have? But something else is a big factor as well, something cultural. The Great Chicago Fire of 1871 killed 300 people and destroyed 3.3 square miles of the city. It was a wood-built city, and it burnt fast. That trauma has shaped the American building codes for the next 150 years. Americans developed a deep cultural resistance to wood construction in urban areas. Wood seems to equal danger in the American mind. It's been passed down through generations of architects, engineers, and code writers. Europe have had our own devastating fires. London burned in 1666, but London looked at the engineering data, conducted modern fire tests, and updated codes based on evidence rather than historical trauma. America just hasn't done that. They're still writing building codes based on a fire which happened when Abraham Lincoln was president. Here's another way to think about that. The material that could revolutionize sustainable construction and cut carbon emissions by up to 75% has been sitting on the sidelines because of outdated fears and industry lobbying. Concrete production alone accounts for 8% of global carbon emissions. 8%. Just concrete. Mass timber does the opposite. It stores carbon. Every mass timber building is essentially a carbon sink that keeps CO2 out the atmosphere for decades or centuries. But there is hope. More cities are now starting to adopt the 2021 International Building Code. Milwaukee proved it could be done with assent. Developers in other cities are watching closely and planning their own projects. Portland did have framework planned at 12 stories a few years ago before the entire project was shelved. It was cancelled due to spiralling costs, the same reasons that we said before. That tells you pretty much everything about how difficult it still is to get these projects approved and financed in America. The American Wood Council continues to push for further code updates that would allow even taller mass timber buildings. And as climate concerns are becoming more urgent, the carbon benefits of mass timber buildings are getting harder to ignore. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. This is a video that YouTube believes that you will enjoy.